All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and of course the X Zone Broadcast Network. And on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM here in St. Catharines, streaming us on classic1220.ca. Well, Exonation, tonight we delve into the skies and beyond with a man whose passion for uncovering the truth about UFOs and ET contact is as deep as the mysteries he investigates. Our guest is David Campione, a lifelong seeker, researcher, and advocate for awareness of the presence of non-human intelligence on Earth and in the cosmos. With an open mind and a fearless approach, David brings insight into encounters, government secrecy, and the growing wave of disclosure. Now get ready for an eye-opening journey into the unexplained. David Campione joins us now. And David, welcome back to the X Zone.
Thanks, Rob. It's been a while.
It has been too long, my friend. How have you been?
Yeah, I've been just aging gracefully.
Well, wait until you get to be over 50, you know. That's when I really...
Okay. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I know that feeling well. You know, my first date was Wilma Flintstone when we were both kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I switched to Betty Rubble. So
Betty, yeah, I figured that. Yeah, I was going to mention Betty. Yeah.
I thought I recognized you from years ago. David, first of all, it's great having you back here with us in the X Zone. And for the many new listeners we have around the world, I was wondering if you could, tell them what sparked your initial interest in UFOs and ET life.
Yeah, one of the things I didn't have a lot of choice because my dad was a UFO researcher in the Philadelphia and southern New Jersey area, and he started in 1948. And as I grew up, I learned quite a bit from what he was doing on the research and the people that he was interviewing, and then I had my first encounter, or a visual encounter, in 1956 when I was 12 years old, along with five other young men. We just came from a Boy Scout meeting in Philadelphia at about 9 o'clock. It was dark. Yeah, it was dark at night, and we saw that one craft on its side. It looked like the side, like looking at the moon. It was. We estimated it to be 300 feet in diameter and 2 miles away. So it was, who knows what the size of it is. And I never triangulated. I don't know geometry. And but anyway, I continued on with my dad's work as I grew up. And then he was, when I went into service in the mid-'60s, he told me, he said, don't talk about flying saucers when you're in the military. I said, okay. There was something, it was a bad thing to say, to bring that up. And I was out in I was in the Coast Guard, United States Coast Guard in 1965, and I had special training before going over to Vietnam in the summer of '66. and we did a survival training out at Camp Pendleton. The Marines took care of us. They showed us how to fight, and we spent a lot of time, many weeks, 6 weeks with the Navy and Marines. And anyway, one night on a hike in the desert during survival training, I looked up in the sky and I said, "Wow, look at this! Look at this light flying along," and then it stopped. And I don't know how high it was, and I said to this sergeant, the Marine sergeant, and I says, "What do you think that is?" He goes, "Just keep moving, just keep moving." He said, "Don't look up, don't look up." He said, "Don't worry about what's going on." And that was like the second sighting that I had. And of course, I didn't know what it was. All I saw was a light. And then when I came back from and got out of the service and was working in commercial photography in northern New Jersey, my boss knew, but you may even notice, man, Dr. Berthold Schwartz. He was my wife's my boss's psychiatrist, and we think he was. My dad always said that he was connected with the CIA. He had back in the 70s. He had a license to practice psychiatry in 7 different states, which was almost unheard of. And well, what he did, because of my background and through with all the work that my dad did, and of course I was privy to most of it when I was around. He started bringing. We actually subcontracted to us, and I used to view Super 8 movie film. That's how far back this goes. So and I put it on a projector, and then I would project it on the screen. And as the CIA used to call it, which I always said, because I had a couple of meetings with alleged CIA, because I never saw an ID card. But anyway, I would stop the artifact on the movie film, and I would stop the frame, but the only problem was when I shut down the projector, the light would dim, and I didn't know how to control that. But I just did longer exposures, and then we had old screens back in those days. You know, the old pull-up screens. They were lenticular screens. And then I started. I was shooting with photographing the stills with a Hasselblad camera, and they're super sharp lenses, and they. And started picking up all the lines off of that screen, the movie screen. So we went to Nikon, and they wanted $100,000. So because we were going to run it for a special lens, run it through the photo enlarger in the dark room, and then get clear shots. Or the other option was to go to Kodak, and Kodak built us a aluminum screen. And that's how I used to photograph off of the aluminum. We didn't get any of the lines from the movie screen. And of course, somebody years later started marketing them, and they were quite phenomenal. And it was very worthy, because it helped me to photograph the artifacts that I was seeing on the screen.
Now these these artifacts that you're talking about, where were they, and what were they?
Okay, there was a lady, apparently the psychiatrist, I don't know how he got hooked up with the lady in somewhere in Massachusetts. And she used to, apparently she was very, very wealthy, and she would set up her Super 8 movie camera and somehow just run it on I guess you could have it go like every so many minutes or something, and get a long duration out of the movie film. And she would set it up over on her porch overlooking her lake, and then she would pick up it would almost look like ghosts dancing across this lake, and sometimes there were small craft involved. And always at night, nothing during the day. And that's what I was. That's what our job was, and we were paid very well for that, and it really helped our business out, because it was a new business, new photo studio, and they really helped us out financially. And then I would just give them to them what they did with them. I have no clue. I have no clue. Yeah.
So basically, these artifacts were anomalies.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Gotcha.
unidentified anomalies. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Now, would you say that was a defining moment when you were convinced that we're not alone?
No, I think that the defining moment was what the heck was it? When I was helping my mother out in a bookstore which she was managing. She managed a Walden bookstore in I forget, one of the malls years ago, and then my dad walked in and he said, check out these photographs, these color photographs. And I said, whoa. I said, what? I said, these are for real? He goes, oh yeah. Around that same time is when Billy Meyer's book came out with his beautiful pictures that he took now, whether, of the spacecraft. Well, anyway, my dad had the Paul Villa photographs from outside of in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yes.
That he photographed. Yeah, he photographed on film, and that's what's in my little UFO manual, the color version. Yeah, with the color photographs in there. And then I said, well, there's something out there. Who they are or what they are, or, which as long as they don't, they never bothered me or never bothered my dad. We had more problems with our United States government than we did with any flying saucer visitors.
What kind of problems did you have with the government?
I was working in northern New Jersey. My dad lived in southern New Jersey, and I drove down one weekend to see what was going on. And my mother said he was kind of irritated. So I drove down and I said, well, so what is the problem? He said, well, the phone's been clicking and I think they got a tap on their phone. I said, yes, so what? What are they going to do? So there's nothing you can do. The phone company said, no, there's no tap on it. Of course, the phone company doesn't do the tap. The government would do the tap, and they would just okay it. So they weren't responsible for putting the tap on. And about a month later, it was continued. So I don't know what I could do. So I drove back down to South Jersey, and there was a car. He said there's been a car parked across the street, and he lived in a housing development and with two men in it. And so I looked out, and it's Rob. It just looked like the typical Men in Black.
Wow.
what you see in the movies and stuff. So I did not approach him, and I was parked in my dad's driveway. So I said, "Where's your shotgun at?" And I said, "I'm going to do some hunting." And,
David, we're going to have a bit of a cliffhanger here because I do have to take a break. So please stand by. Fascinating story from a fascinating friend of the X Zone, David Campione. And if you'd like to find out more about David, visit his website at david-campione.artisticwebsites.com. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. David and I return on the other side of this break. Don't go away, and you're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, here in St. Catharines, Ontario, broadcasting throughout the greater part of Ontario, the northern tiers of the states of New York and Pennsylvania. The X Zone, www.xzbn.net.
So good to me, I know, but I can't change. Tried to tell you, but you look at me like maybe I'm an angel underneath, innocent and sweet. Yesterday I cried. You must have been relieved to see the softer side. I can understand how you'd be so confused. I don't envy you. I'm a little bit of everything, all rolled into one. I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother, I'm a
And welcome back. David Campione is our special guest. We're talking about UFOs this hour here in the X Zone. And David, before we went to this last break, you were telling us about your encounter with what seems to be the typical Men in Black.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, when and let me clarify one thing.
Sure.
My father had lost 90% of his eyesight at the time, so he was really concerned about anything that was going on.
Sure.
From the government, and and I was quite a ways, like 4 hours away, and I used to drive down. But anyway, when I saw the vehicle out there, and I looked and I saw the two men sitting in the front seat of the car. So I walked in the house, and I said, "Well, where's your shotgun at?" And the 12 gauge, and it's a double barrel. And I said, "I just want to borrow it because I might want to do some hunting." And so I broke the breech. There was no shells in it. I opened the thing, and I walked out the front door, and I went to put it in the car, and these two guys just took off when they saw that shotgun coming out. But it wasn't loaded or anything, and all I was doing was putting in the vehicle. So, and he never had a problem
Wow.
again, Rob, never. And I didn't even do anything. I just walked out the door with the shotgun, and when I went back, well, I was still doing some work for what's a better thing, for the CIA back at the time. I was invited to a house for dinner on a Sunday afternoon. People used to do that 50 years, 60 years ago, and they would all get together from the neighborhoods. Well, I was invited over to this house, and there were 5 men, and and they had their wives there and their children and everything. It was a big get together, and they said, "Well, did you bring the pictures?" So the Paul Villa stuff, images, and I had color slides of Paul Villa's work, and they said, "Well, come on, I don't even know who these people were." They were, I mean, perfect haircuts, perfect suits, manicured fingers, and so they weren't working people. They were some kind of executives, and they had a wall that was a pure white wall in the basement that was let's say 10 feet high and about 8 feet wide. And I set up the slide projector, and I put the Como Berenice's photograph, which is on the front cover of my spacecraft identification manual, and they blew and it blew it up. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I got it back far enough where it would fill in that whole wall. And those guys, all 5 of them, they pulled out magnifying glasses, and they're going over every inch. The wall was so smooth, Rob. I mean, there was nothing. There were no blemishes, and they were looking. What they were looking for were wires. And I said, "There's no wires here. This is real stuff, and this is a real spacecraft from the Como Berenices, another spiral galaxy, and through the astronomy, it's M60 is where the whatever the heck that means." And somebody, in fact, Rob, it was somebody on your program years ago asked me, "Well, what planet were they from?" I said, "I don't even know where the galaxy is." And it was I think the galaxy was like 430 million light years from where we are, in this planet. And anyway, I had that photograph because that was one of the best photographs that I've ever seen, and to project it that large. And these gentlemen were looking at it, and they said, "There's no wires." And I said, "Well, no, it's real." And they said, "Well, how do you know it's real?" I said, "Well, my father has been corresponding with Mr. Villa for 8 years." And he said, 8 years? I said, "Yeah." He said, they may have talked once or twice that I wasn't aware of them having a telephone conversation, but they corresponded for 8 years. And they were the ones who came when Paul Villa met the beings from Como Berenices. There were 5 men and 4 women, all between 7 and 9 feet tall, and and they didn't. When they emerged from the craft, when it hovered off the ground, and a gangplank and gangway came out, and they all nine of them walked out, and their lips never moved, but Paul could understand exactly, hear all the words for communicating. And they told Paul, which it still boggles my mind to this day, you need to contact Michael Campione in Cinnamints in New Jersey, because he's the only man you can trust. Now, now, I still don't understand it, how they even knew about, but they must have known how honest my father was. I mean, he was a factory worker, and till he lost his eyesight, and and they said he'll set you up, and we'll allow you to photograph us also, and our craft as it's zooming around, and they did some maneuvers. This was all prior to it landing. And Paul took the photographs with a Ricoh 35 millimeter camera, and he had them. It was a negative film, Kodak negative film, and he had it converted to color slides and prints and yada yada and on. Anyway, I projected all of that information up there, and then I was explaining to him that how Paul contacted my father in Cinnamints in New Jersey at the time, and they were from Como Bernices. I mean, it's the other end of the galaxy as far as I'm concerned, or the universe. I mean, it's just totally out of sight. And they said, well, what was the letters we're talking about? Well, I don't have them. Somebody else, and I tried to track the gentleman down, and I don't know whether he died or somebody threw it out. I have been unable to track him down because I was moving around so much, because I was doing a lot of freelance photography and traveling around this country. And Paul said that the people were what did you call it, the corona or the Christ light, that they were all emanating, and they taught in their schools, and this is through the letters from Paul to my father, and that they taught the teachings of Jesus in their schools, because it was just such a beautiful wording, and as a teacher, and all his words. So, like I said, I wish I had all the information available to me, but I don't on that aspect of it. And then anyway, we left, or those people left. The dinner party was over, and I left and went back to work again. And about a year later, the contract ended. So and that's all I know. And I don't know whether it was anything that I did, but prior to that, I mean, or during that photographing those movie films, the psychiatrist got me in touch with a man named Augie Roberts, who was a journalist photographer, and he was going out to a reservoir in northern New Jersey called Wanakee Reservoir, which supplied the water to Newark, New Jersey. And there was, let's see, 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 days a week at night, where it was a small, about a 30-foot flying saucer would come over the lake or the reservoir and throw a beam of light down, and just hover there for, I don't even know how many minutes. So Augie went out there and photographed this particular craft, and then he had a hard time holding it, or he didn't use a tripod. So he mounted he took a rifle stock. Of course, he took the rifle all off, the mechanics, and he just had the wood stock, and he mounted his camera on it. And he went out there and photographed it at night, and by hand holding it and propping it up, propping it on some stand. And the beautiful pictures that he had of this white craft, and it's just with this huge beam going down in the water. Well, years later, they found out that this spacecraft was coming in to purify the water, because Union Carbide, which was a very large company, I don't even know if they're in business anymore, they were making radioactive isotopes and dumping the excess heavy water into the reservoir. And when they did that, then this flying saucer would come over and purify and take it all out and purify the water again, so it wouldn't get down to the Newark, New Jersey, and I guess and kill everything else on its way down there, let alone the people that would have to drink the water. Now, I mean, that's just absurd. And in this day and age, to even think about somebody doing that. And you know, where that particular craft was from, I have no clue. And Augie had no communications with it. But I drove up there one night, and I was just looking around because the company had shut down that plant, and a police officer drove up and he says, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I've seen photographs of a flying saucer over here." He goes, "Oh yeah, that was a long time ago." He said, "They don't come around anymore." So it was just what he said.
Wow.
It was yeah. So they were patrolling that area on a regular basis.
They were probably looking for guys and gals making out. Remember the old days when you do that in a car?
Yeah, they used to call it submarine races.
Yeah, that's right. David, stand by. You and I have to take our break at the bottom of the hour. Submarine races. Leave it to David Campione to think that one up. Exonation, my guest is David Campione, and his website is David-Campione. Now, Campione is spelled Campione .artistwebsites.com. That's www.david-campione.artistwebsites.com. And David and I will be back talking about submarines and other naval craft when we come back from this break. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. One of these days, I'm going to get abducted. I swear to God. There are times when I stand outside our home and say, "Please, I'm right here. Calgon, take me away." No such luck. I'm still here. David and I return, and you're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, CFAJ AM, streaming us on classic1220.ca, and you're also listening to us on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network. There we go again. Are you a skeptic or a believer? Send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. We'll be back. Don't go away. That is, unless you get abducted. Send me a message from wherever you are.
I hate the world today. You're so good to me, I know.
Up until now, I've learned to live without love. Like a ship without a sail, wandering aimlessly lost. I never knew how it felt to lose my control, but now that I found you, this is all so new. You and me, we've got a destiny starting tonight. We'll be together, you and me. This is what love should be, and it's gonna be right now and forever.
And welcome back, everyone. David Campione is my guest this hour, and we're talking about UFOs, aliens, submarines, and who knows where else this conversation will go. However, David, you and I were just chatting briefly off air during the commercial break that the world is in a totally financial, geopolitical mess, and you asked me if Canada was going to join and be the 51st state of the United States. Actually, we're planning on taking you guys over as our 12th province, but we haven't told Trump that yet.
We're going to be your southern continent? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, you are.
Territory? It's a good idea.
Yeah, what the hell, eh? I figure we're friends, we're neighbors anyway, so why not just take the fence down? It's either that or put one up, one of the two. David, something I've noticed is that ever since this fiasco started, UFO sightings are way down.
Well, what I read today that some drone crashed into a canopy of a what do they call it, an F-35 jet or some kind of jet out west. Crashed, and I said, well, they're a little bit smarter than that to crash into a jet, so it's got to be terrestrial drones, not extraterrestrial drones.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dave, 150%. Let me ask you something, my good friend. What role do you believe intuition plays in understanding or detecting the ET presence?
I think a lot, because it's a good thing you brought that up. I was going to mention that one time I was visiting my friend's garage, and he had a double bay garage and a gas station and everything. And I was up there on a weekend, he was so busy, so I grabbed this fishing rod and I was across the street. It was in Mount Holly, New Jersey, and I was fishing below. There was small waterfalls there, and I was casting out with a top water lure, and Rob, I think the closest tree was 100 yards away, and there was nothing. There was nothing around. It was all grass where I was at, and of course you had the waterfall, and all of a sudden, and I'm reeling in, and this guy, he's got a white shirt on and black pants and black shoes, and it was well, he was short. It was, let's say, he was shorter than me. He was about 5'6", and he says to me, he says, does he like to fish? And I said, yeah. I said, yeah, I enjoy fishing. It's just catch and release. I don't do anything with my release them. And he said, he said, if you want to catch, he says, you got to go to. He told me to go to Stewart, Florida. Now we're in Mount Holly, New Jersey. He says that is at the time. He said that was a sailfish capital of the world, and you could go down there and catch sailfish. And I'm thinking, I'm freshwater fishing. What is he talking about? Me catching sailfish out in the Atlantic Ocean? It's almost 1,000 miles south of where I'm at. And anyway, and I just said, yeah, well, that would be nice, if I get, if I ever get down to Florida, I'll do that. I'll go to Stewart, Florida, and check it out. And I cast the lure out, and I'm reeling it back in, and I turn around, the guy's gone. In a matter of seconds, and you can't cover 100 yards in seconds. No, not a normal person, and he didn't look like an athlete. And I think it was like a first encounter that I've only had 2 encounters with beings, and I think that might have been the first one. It's just so strange.
So you had an encounter with beings, right?
Yeah, with people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think you were selected? Do you think it had something to do with your upbringing, your dad, and what you've been, the work that you did, filming and analyzing these films?
Right. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I actually believe that. And then, I used to take because my dad's eyesight was so bad, and he would do. I would drive him to the lectures, and I would run the slide presentation, and he would talk about, he had it all figured out which one, I think the whole lecture lasted like an hour. 50 minutes or an hour, no more than an hour. And then he had questions and answers. So I picked up a lot of information from there, and plus with people who were saying, oh, I seen one of those, and then I started doing it. I started giving lectures all over the southern New Jersey, Philadelphia area, and especially more so than when I moved to South Florida and West Palm Beach. And 87, I was doing quite a bit of slide presentations down there.
Well, isn't that funny? That man who came out of nowhere was talking to you about going fishing for sailfish in Florida, and you ended up in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, but not in Stewart. I just couldn't afford Stewart, Florida. That was for the wealthy people.
Oh, but you
Yeah.
did end up in Florida.
Oh, absolutely. I'm still here. Yeah, I live in the woods now. I live in northern Florida. I got out. I've been in the woods here for since 1988. Yeah.
Why the
And
woods?
why? Well, it's kind of nice. The cities are crazy, and you got a lot of wild animals here, and it helps my photography out. It increases my animal wildlife photography a lot because I got 9 acres within 100 acres, which backs up to a state park,
Oh,
two
listen,
state parks actually here in northern Florida. Yeah.
that is so neat.
Yeah, it really is, and the only downfall are the two venomous snakes that are here, the coral snake and the eastern diamondback rattlesnake. So you don't look at woodpeckers too much up high because you got to watch where you step.
I'm just trying to figure out what the hell you went from snakes to woodpeckers. Like, what the hell?
Well, I would photograph we have those large woodpeckers down here. They're called pileated or pileated, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And they're like 18 to 20 inches tall, these woodpeckers. You probably have them up in Canada. I'm sure you do. I would hope
Oh
you.
yeah, we used to have woodpeckers when we lived in Crystal Beach. We had I think it was an acre and a half there, and we had foxes, we had rabbits, we had
Yeah.
it was wonderful. I truly missed that. And
Yeah.
after I fell off the roof, we couldn't maintain the house and the land and everything, so we sold the house and bought a condo.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I understand that. Yeah, yeah, and I keep looking. I got enough clearing out here. It's all woods. I mean, there's so many trees here. I have. In fact, just before we came on air, I heard a tree fall over, and I said, "I hope it doesn't hit the power line," because we've been trying to get this thing together for a few days
Oh,
now.
we have, yeah, sure.
And I have a lot of trees. I got 8 acres of huge trees, pine trees that are 110 feet tall, oak trees that are 90, 95 feet tall, and red oak, white oak, and stuff like that. But I have a clearing if a craft wants to come down and land and take me out of here, when they're ready.
When was the last time, David, that you've been in contact with the ETs?
Well, it was about a year ago. I was I don't know if you ever heard of there's some magazine. I don't know if I'll mention it.
Sure, go ahead.
It's
Give them a free plug. Go on.
okay. It's I guess it's still published in England. It's called Alien Magazine. My sister had told me about it, and I said, "Well, I've never seen it." So anyway, I thought, well, I'll look it up online, and maybe I'll run maybe a small ad in a publication, and I don't know, whatever happened, I never ran any ads, but I always look for the magazine because in the grocery stores down here, they have a little section, a very small section of magazines. And I always look and figure, well, this will be the place that this magazine will show up. And anyway, I was standing there, it was a little over a year ago. And in March of last year, actually, March of 2024. And I was looking for this Alien magazine, and I'm standing there looking. I'm reading, just checking the magazine, and behind me is a display of greeting cards, birthday cards and whatever, and I didn't notice anybody behind me. I didn't even feel a presence of anybody behind me. And this lady said, and I wasn't talking to myself, Rob. I haven't got to that point yet. So
That's
I was
what
just
you
standing there.
think. You think you're on a radio interview. Actually, nobody is here.
Nobody's here. Nobody's listening, right? Okay. Anyway, I was just thinking about this magazine, and this lady says, "Oh, they don't have it." And I go, "They don't have what here?" She says, "Oh, that Alien magazine. They don't have it." I said, "Well, how do you know I was so?" She said, "Well, I read your mind." And I go, "Really?" I said, "Well, who are you?" And she was a short lady. She was about 5'3", brown hair. She had a flattish face like the Koreans have. You can tell the different in Asia, the different people over there. And anyway, she had a face like that, but her eyes were round, so they weren't they didn't have the slant.
Right.
And really nice lady, and dressed very casual. And she says, "No, that magazine isn't here." And she didn't say where you get it. She says,
Damn
"You
it,
know,
David,
we've
she was
always-"
trying to pick you up, for God's sake.
No, she wasn't. No.
You
Well,
and I,
maybe
you
she
and I,
was going to take me away.
you and I are going to have a talk off air, buddy.
Well, she says to me, she says, "You know, we've always been here." And I go, "What do you mean we? What are you talking about?" She says, "Well, I'm not from here. I'm just down here working and on this planet and our people." I said, "Well, where are your people from?" And she said, she didn't say much. She didn't say anything. She says, "No, we just always been here." She says, "You."
David, are you there? David, are you there? Well, we're going to take a commercial break as we try to get our guest back. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. Maybe that lady found out where he was living, and she's doing nefarious stuff to him right now. He may not have found his UFO magazine, but he may have found the love of his life. David Campione is my guest. We'll be back on the other side of this break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM. Streaming us on classic1220.ca.
Wandering aimlessly lost. I never knew how it felt to lose my control, but now that I found you. Josie's on a vacation far away. Come around and talk it over. So many things that I wanna say. You know I like my girls a little bit older. I just wanna use your love tonight. I don't wanna lose your love tonight. I ain't got many friends left to talk to. The waves are rumbling, I'm in trouble. You know I'd do anything for you. Stay alive and keep it undercover. I just wanna use your love tonight.
And welcome back. We've got David Campione back with us. Apparently it was that lady in the grocery store that found out where he lived and kind of absconded him over the last couple of minutes. But we have him back. You know, apparently he took a crowbar and wedged her off him. And welcome back, David.
I'm back, Rob.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
back.
You wanted to talk about two more sightings with the same craft.
Yeah. A large craft. I was in the late 1970s, and I was driving. I don't even know what road it was on. I was outside of, or going through Media, Pennsylvania, which is like north of Philadelphia, northwest of Philadelphia. And I was driving. It was like sunset. It was almost not quite sunset. The sun was still. It was setting in the west. And then I look out, and I don't know, for some reason I just looked off to the to the northwest, and I saw this long cylinder. It looked like about a mile or 2 mile long. I mean, I don't even know how far I was from it. I mean, I'm just guesstimating, and it looked like a 55-gallon drum, but huge. I mean, miles. I mean, at least a minimum of a mile long. I'm sure it is. And I just looked at it and I said, well, there's not. And then it disappeared. And and it just went away. And of course, I had traffic I was contending with, and it was about 7 years later. I'm surf fishing off the New Jersey coast, and I'm looking at this. And I had a coat on. I always took a coat down there because you never know when the storms are coming up. And it was late spring, and I had the fishing rod in the rod holder, and the line was out in the water, and I was down there by myself, and then this young couple came walking up the beach, and they were holding hands, and they were just walking along and talking, and when I was looking west, it had to be one of the blackest clouds I've ever seen. I mean, it was a storm coming. And I'm thinking, what the heck is, oh man, we're going to get soaked. And this couple stopped, and I said, yeah. I said, we're going to get plastered. I said, I hope your car's nearby because you're probably not even going to make it. And you can see the rain, the sheets of rain. It looks like a waterfall coming down, and it's just coming right up. And it got right to the beach and stopped. The storm, the rain was coming down, and it stopped continuing east to the beach or to the ocean, and it's got this waterfall, and then all of a sudden it started going north, and I said, oh, we've been spared. And this couple was really relieved too, because they didn't want to get wet, and it was a little chilly and I turn around and I look out over the ocean, and there's that same cylinder, that 55-gallon drum, and it seems it's sitting above the horizon, and it looks miles in length, and it was so clear out there over the ocean. Well, a couple of years later, when my dad had he started a Del Val UFO group at his home, and one of the people who used to come to the group on a monthly basis, his job was I guess it was a channeling or remote viewing back then, and whatever. I don't even know what he was doing, because I didn't understand it. But they would lock him in a room and with one of those big yellow legal pads, and he would have a pen, and there was no windows in there, and he would channel stuff in it. And I happened to mention this craft, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, that's Captain so and so." And I go, "Well, what do you mean, Captain so and so?" He says, "Oh, yeah, his job is to control the weather along the Mid-Atlantic coast." You go, "What?" He said, "Yeah." He said that's what his job is, and it's a huge craft. And I said, well, it looks like it's nowhere. It can't be under a mile. He goes, oh no, it's bigger than a mile. And this is what he said. And I never even met this man before. And and so he just, I don't know. I mean, they're doing a job, I guess, to whatever, to control the weather down here, and that's part of their job. I don't know. I don't know. And that was the only time I saw him. I saw that craft twice, and I had a little feedback, and I don't know whether to believe the man or not, but I have to believe him because he said he was in touch with them. So I don't. That's all I know.
David, if there's a craft that is larger than a mile in size, wouldn't a whole bunch of other people seen it?
Well, the storm that was out there. There were only three of us on the beach. Now, unless somebody was looking out the window or something, I don't know. Or if they can make you see the craft and not nobody else, because that's been reported also and researched, where people in New York City they look up, and a couple of people would look up and see a flying saucer, and they're pointing on the street corner, like I mean, and there's nothing there, and they're wondering what the heck are they pointing at. But only there were two people that could see a flying saucer up there. So,
strange, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how they control it, but Rob, I just don't know yet. No.
Dave, tell us about your book.
Yeah, it's a great little it's called the UFO Spacecraft Identification Manual. It's on Amazon.com under David Campione, and it's got some pictures in it, color pictures with Paul Villa's work, and one of the somehow the copy that I got, they rearranged one of the photographs, but they Mr. Villa photographed not I don't even know where these people were from. A craft that he was contacted mentally, and he grabbed his camera and they told him where to go, and when this craft was out there, it was on its side, and it's in the photograph, it's in the book, and there's he said two monitoring craft, which electronic monitoring craft, which we call drones, but these are beyond what drones can do. And they went up and sculpted a Native American laying down, and you can see the feather, you can see everything on it. You can see his little feather, and he wasn't a chief. Not everybody's a chief, you know. And anyway, and there's good information in there on how to protect yourself. And I haven't tried or haven't been told by anyone whether the new LEDs lights, the flashlights, would deter a flying saucer. Because the old flashlights, the more cells, and if you got a 4 or 5 cell flashlight, that's really powerful. And if you had a craft come near you and you felt uncomfortable, you could turn that light on, and then that craft would leave, because it would somehow interfere with its operation, and they would leave. But now I don't know with the LED lights whether they can do that or not, because it's a whole different spectrum. And I haven't heard anybody trying that or even doing it. I have a 30,000 lumen LED light for the woods out here, because and I look a lot of times at the animals at night out here, and just to see what's running around out here at night, and I don't know if it would affect the flying saucer or not, and it's just interesting what they have, what people can do.
Dave, let me ask you.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Time is moving on very fast.
Right.
Why is it that only some people can see these craft and others can't?
Well, probably because their mental state and their spiritual development. I think that's one of the reasons, because these craft are the beings that operate there. Just think they're like 1,000 years to 10,000 years ahead of us in life, and they've learned to adapt in whatever they deal with their spirituality, or and learn how to control the spacecraft by thought. Now, I just saw a friend of mine just sent me a YouTube video about a month ago, and I looked at it, and it was Lieutenant Colonel Stevens.
Wendell Stevens.
Wendell Stevens. And he was talking about there was a craft that's supposed to be out there in Area 51. It's been out there for 35 years, and he's got a little alien, is what he was saying, one of those weird-looking things. And he was saying, our scientists are trying to get it to work, and he says it's very easy to do. You just your thought, but we're not that advanced to project good thoughts to make a craft work. For 35 years they've been trying. At least this is what Wendell Stevens said. Now I don't know how
there's a lot of misinformation out there, David, when it comes to UFOs, extraterrestrials, and the reality thereof. How does somebody know what is real and what is nothing else but a bunch of bunk, a bunch of hype, just a video to get more clicks? And now with artificial intelligence, so the sky's the limit on how you can defraud people left, right, and center.
Yeah, I don't believe anything I see on the internet anymore. In photos. In fact, I even saw the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars zooming around some island in some South Pacific island.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, this is unbelievable. And that was years ago. So who knows what's going on? But the photographs in the book were taken on with a 35 millimeter camera in the mid 1960s. And it was color film, and you can see there's 10 photos in there, and then that also tells you how to protect yourself if you get behind your car, or how you can call them in if you want, if you feel spiritually enough to, if you're adventurous, you want to stop a light that you see in the sky and ask them Are you friendly? And if they don't know communication, they're probably there's probably two strikes against you. They're probably not friendly, and you're probably not. You're not ready to get a connection with them.
So that's
And,
when you run like hell to the store, get some tin foil, and put it on your head for protection.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hey, David,
You know,
the time has come, my friend, when you and I must say so
Okay.
long. Always great talking to you, David. Take care of yourself, and I look forward to the next time that you and I meet back here in the X Zone.
thanks, Rob, and it's been a pleasure for all these years, decades we've been together.
Yes, we have.
On your break.
Keep smiling, my
yep.
friend, and I hope that lady finds you again from the grocery store. And love is wonderful. Take care, my friend.
All right, Rob. Good night.
Good night now. I'll be back on the... well, that's it for tonight, Exo Nation. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. So until then, from everyone here, my producer Craig West, my wife Laura Rogers, who is our senior producer, and yours truly, Rob McConnell, always remember to keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.